My name is Alex Carter, and for most of my life, I thought I understood exactly who I was. I was a regular student, slightly introverted, with a quiet passion for science that bordered on obsession. My notebooks were filled with formulas, chemical reactions, and sketches of experiments I hoped to someday conduct. My life was orderly, predictable, a schedule of classes, study sessions, and the occasional hangout with friends. I liked it that way. Comfortable. Safe. But all of that changed the day Ms. Valerie entered my life. Ms. Valerie was our new science teacher, and from the moment she walked into the classroom, there was a spark in the air that I couldn't quite place. She was poised, striking, with a sharp intellect that could slice through the most complex problems in seconds. Her hair fell in dark, cascading waves, and her eyes, green, intense, and knowing, seemed to pierce right through me every time I looked up from my notebook. It wasn't just admiration. It was something more, something unspoken. I felt seen. I had always had this secret side of myself, something I never told anyone, not my parents, not my friends, not even my girlfriend, Emma. I liked wearing women's clothes. Not in a casual, joke-of-the-week way, but fully embracing the look, the feel, and the confidence it gave me. The soft silk against my skin, the way a dress swirled as I walked, the meticulous care of makeup, all of it made me feel alive in a way my regular life never could. Emma knew, vaguely, of course. She thought it was just a fun hobby, something I did for laughs or online challenges. But it was more than that. It was me. My escape. My secret. That morning, the sun was streaming through the blinds in our small apartment, and Emma was asleep beside me. I quietly slipped out of bed, careful not to disturb her. Today was going to be different. I wasn't going to just wear a dress in the privacy of my room. I wanted to experiment with confidence, to see if I could blend the Alex who loved science with the Alex who loved this. I picked out a soft lavender dress, something simple but elegant. The fabric felt cool and smooth against my skin as I pulled it over my head. I adjusted the straps, smoothing the fabric over my shoulders, and stepped into a pair of modest heels. The gentle click of the heels against the hardwood floor made my heartbeat quicken. Makeup came next, foundation to even my skin, a touch of blush to highlight my cheekbones, mascara to make my eyes pop. I looked at myself in the mirror, feeling a strange mixture of fear and excitement. I was a different person, but still me. Or, at least, a version of me I'd always secretly wanted to be. Emma stirred, murmuring something incoherent in her sleep. I froze, heart pounding, but she only shifted, burying herself deeper into the blankets. I exhaled slowly, relief flooding me. The bus ride to school felt surreal. Every glance from strangers, every reflection in a store window, made me acutely aware of my transformation. I wasn't just cross-dressing for fun today. I was experimenting with boundaries, with perception, with the thrill of being noticed. I could feel the weight of my secret life pressing down on me, but I welcomed it. When I arrived at school, the familiar hallways felt alien. Students passed by, some giving me curious glances, others too absorbed in their own worlds to notice. My hands trembled slightly as I clutched my bag, adjusting the hem of my dress. I spotted Emma at the lockers, her expression a mixture of surprise and amusement. She mouthed, "You look amazing," and my stomach did a little flip. Knowing she approved gave me courage, but it also reminded me of the precariousness of my double life. And then there was Ms. Valerie. She was waiting outside the science lab, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning the students with her usual intensity. When our eyes met, I felt a shiver run down my spine. There was a spark in her gaze, something knowing, something that made my knees weaken. She didn't say a word, just nodded slightly, as if acknowledging something I hadn't yet dared to admit to myself. "Alex, can I have a word after class?" she asked, her voice calm but carrying an edge I couldn't ignore. My pulse quickened. I nodded, unsure what I'd gotten myself into. The day passed in a blur. Each experiment, each lecture, each casual glance from Ms. Valerie felt like it carried some hidden significance. My secret life, my love for dressing, for becoming someone else, felt intertwined with her gaze. I didn't understand why yet, but I knew instinctively that this wasn't going to be ordinary. After the final bell, she motioned for me to stay behind. The empty lab smelled faintly of chemicals and polished wood. She closed the door, her presence suddenly overwhelming. "Alex," she said softly, stepping closer, "I've noticed you. More than most students. And I know there's more to you than meets the eye." My mouth went dry. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I'm not sure what you mean," I managed to say, though my hands betrayed me, trembling slightly. She smiled, a slow, knowing smile that made my knees weak. "Don't be afraid. I can help you explore it. Really explore it. But you have to trust me." Trust her? My mind raced with warnings and doubts. Emma, my family, the world outside, all of it seemed to press in. And yet, a strange part of me, the part that had always yearned to be seen for who I truly was, felt a thrill of anticipation. That was the day my life changed. I didn't know how, I didn't know why, but I was about to become her experiment, her doll, and everything I thought I knew about myself would be put to the ultimate test. The moment Ms. Valerie's words sank in, my mind became a whirlwind of fear, excitement, and curiosity. She didn't just notice me. She understood me, or at least hinted that she did. I couldn't explain why, but a strange thrill ran through me at the thought of revealing myself to someone other than Emma. Could I trust her? Could I allow myself to be seen? Truly seen? My pulse quickened just thinking about it. After school, she instructed me to stay behind while the hallways emptied. I lingered near the lab entrance, my stomach twisting in nervous anticipation. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly above, throwing sharp reflections off the countertops. The smell of antiseptic mixed with the lingering scent of chemicals made my head swim. I kept adjusting the hem of my dress, as if doing so could prepare me for whatever was coming. "You're here," Ms. Valerie said quietly, stepping from the shadows of the lab. Her gaze was both intense and comforting, and I felt my knees weaken. "Good. I want to help you explore yourself. Your hidden side. But you need to let go. Trust me completely." I swallowed hard, uncertainty clawing at me. I don't know if I can," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. She smiled gently, yet there was a commanding undertone that made it clear this wasn't optional. "You can. You will. But first, we need to start small. A test. A transformation. If you succeed, I promise you freedom, confidence, and understanding." Her words sent shivers down my spine. The idea of a controlled experiment thrilled me and terrified me simultaneously. I had always been careful with my secret, afraid of discovery, of judgment, of losing control. And now, here she was, offering me a guided way to explore it, and perhaps cross boundaries I had never dared to approach. That evening, back at my apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about Ms. Valerie's proposition. Emma was in the living room, watching a show, oblivious to the storm raging in my mind. Part of me wanted to confide in her, to share my desires openly. But another part feared judgment, misunderstanding, or disappointment. I paced my room, trying to sort out my emotions. The thrill of being noticed, the shame of hiding, the longing to embrace my true self, all collided into a chaotic jumble. My hands itched to prepare, to dress, to try something new. But doubt gnawed at me. Could I really trust Ms. Valerie? Could I really submit to someone else's control? The room felt smaller, the walls pressing in as I examined the lavender dress I had worn to school. I imagined how it would feel to wear it under her instructions, not just for fun or secret pleasure, but as part of an experiment. My pulse raced, a mix of fear and excitement pulsing through me. The next day, I returned to the school, trembling with anticipation. Ms. Valerie greeted me with a subtle smile. "Alex, today we start." She led me into the lab, which had been transformed into a kind of private chamber. Mirrors lined one wall, and neatly arranged tables held clothing, shoes, wigs, and makeup supplies. It was surreal, like stepping into a boutique built specifically for someone like me. "You'll start by choosing your attire," she instructed, gesturing to the items. "But remember, this isn't just dressing up. It's a full transformation. Your posture, your gestures, your expression, everything must align with the persona we are creating together. I hesitated but felt a magnetic pull toward the clothes. I picked a soft pastel dress, unsure if it was the right choice, but trusting her judgment. She nodded approvingly.
Good.
Now, heels. The moment I slipped into them, my balance wavered. She guided me, adjusting my posture, showing me how to walk gracefully. It was embarrassing, yet intoxicating. My reflection in the mirrors multiplied, showing me a version of myself I had always longed to be. Next came makeup. She coached me through foundation, blush, eyeshadow, and lipstick. Every stroke was precise, deliberate, and her attention made my heart race. By the time she stepped back, I hardly recognized myself. I was beautiful, or, at least, the version of myself I had always dreamed of becoming. Standing in front of the mirror, I felt exposed. Every part of me, every secret desire, was visible in my reflection. I wanted to run, to hide, to escape. But another part thrilled in the vulnerability, the sensation of being molded, guided, and perfected. "Look at yourself," Ms. Valerie whispered. "This is who you can be, Alex. Not just in secret, but in understanding. You're allowed to embrace it if you have the courage." My hands shook as I reached up to touch my face, the contours and colors both foreign and familiar. I could feel the duality inside me. Alex the student, Alex the secret self, and now Alex the doll, crafted and directed by someone I couldn't quite decipher. As I practiced walking in my heels, adjusting my posture, and mastering the expressions she demanded, the tension grew. Every creak of the building, every shadow, every faint sound made my heart race. I was alone with her, under her control, and every instinct screamed caution. A sudden knock at the lab door made me jump. "Alex, don't panic," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Sometimes the world tests you. Let's see how you handle it." It was just a janitor, checking on the lab. Relief washed over me, but the lesson remained. Even a small interruption could jeopardize everything. My secret, my persona, my trust with her, everything was fragile. Over the next few days, the sessions intensified. Each day brought new instructions, more elaborate outfits, and a deeper psychological immersion into the persona Ms. Valerie was creating. She introduced props, wigs, gloves, jewelry, and challenged me to maintain composure while performing subtle tasks. Every glance, every gesture, every movement was scrutinized. The thrill of performing, combined with the fear of being discovered, created a constant tension. My secret life and my public self collided in ways I had never experienced. The duality became more pronounced with each session. I was learning to embody the doll she envisioned, but each transformation chipped away at my old sense of self. By the end of the week, I realized something chilling. I was no longer just exploring my secret passion. I was becoming her creation. The thrill, the fear, the vulnerability, they were intoxicating, but they also left me questioning who I truly was. The next week's session started like any other, but the air was charged with a tension I couldn't ignore. Ms. Valerie's eyes held a new intensity, and I felt it in my bones. Today, the stakes would be higher. "You've done well, Alex," she said, circling me like a sculptor inspecting a masterpiece. "But now, we'll test how far you can maintain this persona under pressure." I shivered, unsure whether to feel excitement or dread. She handed me a new outfit, an elegant pastel gown with delicate lace trimming, complemented by shimmering heels. The sight of it sent a mix of awe and panic through me. "You will attend the school's evening lab demonstration," she explained. "You must blend in, appear confident, and complete the tasks I assign, all without breaking character." As I stepped into the hallway, heels clicking against the linoleum, my pulse raced. Every corner seemed to hide a threat. A janitor returning early, a student wandering into the empty hallways, Emma walking by unexpectedly. My breath hitched with each creak of the floorboards. Ms. Valerie stayed close but silent, letting me navigate. Her gaze, sharp and instructive, was both reassuring and terrifying. I could almost hear her voice in my mind, guiding every movement, every expression, but always reminding me that a single misstep could unravel everything. The first task was simple: move through the lab, interacting with equipment, while maintaining grace. But as I handled delicate glassware, I noticed a shadow at the far end, a student I hadn't seen. My heart leapt. "Don't panic," Miss Valerie whispered. "Just flow with your character." I adjusted my posture, smiled lightly, and carried on, feeling my cheeks burn. The student glanced at me, curiosity flickering in his eyes, but said nothing. Relief and terror intertwined. One wrong glance, one slip of the heel, and my secret might be exposed. Just as I began to breathe easier, a soft ringtone echoed through the lab. My phone, Emma's name flashing on the screen. Panic surged. Miss Valerie's eyes narrowed, and I felt frozen. "Answer it carefully," she instructed. "Maintain composure. Remember, you're the doll now." I raised the phone with trembling hands. Hello." I croaked in the higher, rehearsed voice Miss Valerie had taught me. "Alex, are you home? I thought we were meeting tonight." Emma's voice was casual, unaware of the transformation I was undergoing. I swallowed hard, feeling the walls of my carefully constructed persona tremble. Miss Valerie gave me a subtle nod, signaling me to continue. I forced a soft laugh, hiding the anxiety clawing at me. "I had some extra work to finish, Emma. I'll be home soon." A pause. Then, "All right, be careful, okay?" Relief flooded me, but the fear lingered. A single call from Emma could expose me to the entire world. And yet, in that terrifying moment, I felt alive, more me than I had ever been. The demonstration continued, but my nerves were frayed. Every step, every gesture required extreme focus. My reflection in the lab mirrors mocked me. The delicate doll she had shaped stood tall and poised, but inside, Alex was screaming. Ms. Valerie introduced another task. I had to manipulate complex equipment while maintaining perfect posture. I faltered, the heels slipping slightly on the polished floor. My heart raced. She didn't intervene immediately, letting me struggle just enough to test my composure. Sweat beaded on my forehead, and my hands shook as I stabilized a flask. One wrong move, and it would shatter. I caught my reflection again and forced a confident smile, even as terror coursed through me. "Good," Miss Valerie whispered after I completed the task flawlessly. "You're learning." But now, she handed me a delicate wig. "Wear this for the final test. You must remain flawless in both appearance and poise while handling unexpected disturbances." As I adjusted the wig, a loud knock echoed through the lab, sharper, more insistent than before. My breath caught. Ms. Valerie motioned to stay calm. The door creaked open. A school administrator peered inside, frowning. "I thought I heard noises. Is anyone here?" Time slowed. I froze, every muscle tense. The administrator's gaze swept the room, landing on me. My reflection in the mirror caught the subtle tremor of my fingers. Yes, just finishing up a demonstration," Ms. Valerie said smoothly, her voice calm, authoritative. She stepped forward, shielding me. Alex was assisting me. "All is fine." The administrator nodded, suspicious but apparently convinced, and left. My knees trembled, and I exhaled a shuddering breath. I had survived, barely. After the administrator left, Ms. Valerie guided me to the largest mirror in the lab. "Look at yourself," she said. "This is not just a reflection of beauty, it's a reflection of courage, resilience, and your hidden self." I stared at the image, the doll she had created, poised and flawless, staring back at me. My hands reached up instinctively, brushing the wig. A single strand fell loose, cascading over my cheek. Panic surged, but she gently steadied it. "That single strand doesn't define you," she whispered. "But how you handle it does. You're both Alex and the doll. Both scared and brave. Remember that." Tears pricked my eyes. I had survived the ultimate test, but I had also changed. Something fundamental inside me had shifted. The session ended, but the tension lingered. I left the lab with my heels clicking on the empty hallways, my reflection haunting me in every polished surface. I had walked the tightrope between exposure and secrecy, fear and exhilaration, identity and transformation. On the walk home, my mind replayed every detail: the shadows, the interruptions, the whispered instructions, the vulnerability. I realized I couldn't unsee what I had become. The doll was not just a role, it had merged with my identity in ways I couldn't yet comprehend. That night, as I prepared to change back into my casual clothes at home, I noticed something alarming. A small envelope slipped under my door. My name was written in elegant script. Hands shaking, I opened it. Inside was a single note. Alex, the experiment is only beginning. Are you ready to fully become who you were meant to be? My heart raced. Fear, excitement, and a strange longing collided. Someone new. Or perhaps Miss Valerie wanted me to question everything. I looked in the mirror. The doll's reflection stared back, almost alive. And in that moment, I realized nothing would ever be the same. I sat on the edge of my bed, my fingers trembling as I clutched the mysterious envelope. The note inside seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Alex, the experiment is only beginning. Are you ready to fully become who you were meant to be? My reflection in the mirror caught my attention. The doll I had become, the perfectly poised, flawless image that Miss Valerie had crafted, stared back at me. But behind those painted eyes, I could still see Alex, anxious, confused, and terrified. The two identities collided, and I didn't know which one was stronger anymore. I glanced around my room, half expecting Miss Valerie to appear from the shadows, testing me further. The silence pressed down, and yet I felt her presence everywhere. The echo of her instructions, the weight of her expectations. My heart raced as I imagined her voice whispering in my ear, "Remember, the experiment isn't over. It's only just begun." A sudden sound made me freeze. The faint click of the front door. Emma? My stomach twisted. I wasn't ready. I wasn't sure I could face her. Not like this. My mind spun through every scenario. What if she discovered everything? What if she laughed? Or worse, judged me? The envelope slipped from my hands onto the floor, and I leaned over to pick it up. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. A small, handwritten message on the back of the note. It read, "Tonight, choose. Alex or the doll. But choose quickly." A chill ran down my spine. The weight of the decision pressed on me like a physical force. My hands shook as I realized I couldn't put off the choice. And yet, part of me feared making it, because I didn't even know what it truly meant. Then, a faint sound, footsteps on the stairs, made my pulse jump. My room felt impossibly small, the walls closing in. I scrambled to my dresser, trying to find something to hide my transformation, my secret. The heels, the wig, the makeup, all the symbols of the doll Miss Valerie had shaped, lay on the floor, scattered like evidence of my double life. I paused, listening. The footsteps were getting closer. My breath came in shallow, rapid bursts. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears, loud and insistent. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the doorway. I froze, caught between fear and anticipation. The figure stepped into the light, and I couldn't see their face clearly. My pulse raced. Could it be Emma? Or someone else? The figure moved closer, and I realized my reflection in the mirror was no longer just me. The doll's eyes, perfect, unblinking, seemed to watch the intruder as well, as if it had a mind of its own. I felt a strange, surreal detachment, as though I were split into two beings, both trapped in the same body. The envelope lay at my feet, the words echoing in my mind, "Alex or the doll. But choose quickly." And just as the shadow reached the threshold of my room, the story froze, the moment suspended in a heartbeat of terror and anticipation. Would I be exposed? Would I embrace the doll fully, leaving Alex behind? Or would I cling to my old self, risking the consequences of defying Miss Valerie's experiment? The answer wasn't clear. And in that suspended, suffocating moment, I realized one terrifying truth. Nothing would ever be the same again. The mirror reflected two faces, One terrified, one composed. Point one was me. One was the doll. And the choice was still mine.